Hello, my yarny friends. I'm Sara Sach, and welcome back to my crochet channel. Now, last week we did our first spring pot holder, which was our spring lamb, and today we're going to do our spring chick. It's stitched in a similar fashion in a circle pattern, and we're using the same flowers that we used over here, just in different colors if we want to, although you could make them all the same color if you want to. And this is our spring chick. He's super cute, measures about 8.5 inches across, just like the spring lamb did. And so this is our number 1 in our series. This is number 2, and then number 3 is going to be a spring bunny, and we'll do that one next week. So we're doing this one today. Now I want to remind you that if you're making these for a decoration, any yarn is fine. And we'll talk about weights and all of that in just a second. But if you're going to make these and use them as an actual hot pad or pot holder, I really recommend that you make them out of cotton yarn. And if it's too thin for you with just one layer, you can make 2 of the chickens or 2 of the lambs and then use that last row to stitch them together so they'll be double thick. Then it will make a nice thick pot holder and protect the surface as well as your hands. Now you can find this free crochet pattern on my blog, and as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. I'm also going to put the link for the spring lamb, just in case you want to make that one as well. So you'll find them both down in the notes under the video. To make our spring chick pot holder or hot pad, you're going to need about 1 ounce of your main color, which is this yellow, but I'm going to make mine in this pretty mint green. And then you need about 1/2 ounce of your orange, and that's probably way more than you're going to need, but I'm going to do that portion in pink. And then I'm going to do my 3 flowers in orange, purple, and yellow. And then you just need a small amount of the black for the eyes of our spring chick. Now, the original one I did in your traditional yellow and orange, but I wanted to sort of mix it up a little bit, because at Easter time and in the spring we can make our chicks in any color that we want to, and it's a good opportunity to get in your yarns and use up some of your leftover medium weight number 4 yarns. Now again, I want to tell you that if you're going to use this as an actual hot pad and place something hot on it, I do suggest you use your medium weight cotton yarns. But since I'm using all of mine for decorations, I'm just getting in my yarn stash and using up my medium weight acrylic yarns. We're going to be stitching with our H hook, which is a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. You need a needle for weaving in ends and sewing on your beak, stitching on your eyes, and also sewing on your flowers. And then of course you're going to need a pair of scissors. We're going to begin with our slip knot. We're going to chain 5. We're going to join this chain 5 into a circle. So we'll take the tail of our yarn, put it on our hook, and pull it through that loop, and then just snug that down. There we go. And we'll tie that stay knot so our chain 5 circle will stay together. Now, if you prefer to use the magic circle here or another way of doing a circle, it's totally fine. I just prefer this style. Alright, so I put my hook in, pull up a loop, and chain 3. This chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. And now we're going to stitch 9 more double crochets in this chain 5. And you'll also notice that I'm stitching over that tail of yarn. And that's so I can close up that hole when I'm done stitching my double crochets. So our chain 3 counted as our first, and we're stitching 9 more double crochets, so we need a total of 10 double crochets. All right, let's see how many I've stitched. Here's my chain 3, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I need one more. 10. Now I'm going to join to my chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. But before I do row or round 2, we're going to go ahead and close up that hole. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a pull, that yarn tail. Whoops. Drop my needle. We'll thread that yarn tail onto our needle. And then we'll just go ahead and weave that in. This has to be weaved in anyway. So we're just going to go ahead and do it now so we don't have to do it later. If you want to wait till the end of your project, you certainly can. Make sure it's stitched in good because it's probably going to get washed a lot. Even if it's a decoration, I'm sure people are going to want to touch it and play with it because it's just such a cute little spring chick. All right, so we have 10 double crochets. We joined to our chain 3 and chained 3 for row 1. For row 2, our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. So we're going to stitch in the same stitch as our chain 3. And that will give us 2 double crochets in that first stitch. Now we're going to go in the next stitch and stitch 2 double crochets. And so what we're doing for round 3, or row 3, whichever you want to call it, is we're stitching 2 double crochets in each of those double crochets around. We had 10 double crochets on our first row, and 20 double crochets will be our second row. 2 double crochets in each of those double crochets around, then we'll join back to our chain 3. I stitched 2 double crochets in each of those 10 stitches, so I have 20 double crochets for row 2. I'm going to join to the top of my chain 3 and chain 3. For row 3, we're basically going to repeat what we did for row 2. We're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3, and then we'll stitch 2 double crochets in each of those double crochets around. So 2 double crochets in each of the double crochets, working all the way around. Then we'll join back to our chain 3. I stitched 2 double crochets in each of those 20 double crochets, so I have 40 double crochets. We're going to join to the top of the chain 3 and chain 3. Now for row 4, we're not going to stitch in the same stitch as our chain 3. We're going to double crochet in the next 2. So that will give us 3 individual double crochets. Then in the next double crochet, we're going to stitch 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. So now we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, and 3. So 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches, and then 2 double crochets in the next. 1 and 2. And that's our repeat for row or round 4. 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, whoops, got a little splitty there. There we go. 3. and then 2 double crochets in the next. 1 and 2. And we'll repeat that 1, 2, 3, and 2, working all the way around and join back to our chain 3. We have 3 double crochets, 1 in each of the next 3, and then 2 in the next, all the way around, and that's going to give you 50 double crochets. Now I joined to my chain 3 and chained 3. For row 5, we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the next 3. We're not stitching 1 in the same stitch as our chain 3 anymore. So my chain 3 counted as 1, and then I stitched 3 more, so that gives me 4 double crochets. And then I'm going to stitch 2 double crochets in the next. 1 and 2. 1 double crochet in the next 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 double crochets in the next. 1 and 2. And this gives us a nice round flat hot pad. All right, and so our repeat for round 5 is 1 double crochet in the next 4 and 2 in the next, and repeat all the way around, and again join back to our chain 3. I completed row 5. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets and then 2 together, and repeat all the way around. I joined to my chain 3 and chained 3. And for row 5, we have 60 double crochets. Now, we're going to do row 6. It's similar, only we're going to have 5 double crochets and then stitch 2 together. So we don't stitch 1 in the same stitch as our chain 3. We stitch 1 double crochet in the next 4 because our chain 3 counts as our first. So I have 5 double crochets because we're counting that chain 3 as 1. And then in the next stitch, we're going to stitch 2 double crochets. 1 double crochet in the next 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1 double crochet in the next 5, and 2 double crochets in the next. 1 and 2. And that's our repeat for row 6. And we'll continue to repeat that. 1 in the next 5, 2 in the next, all the way around, and join back to our chain 3. I completed row 6. 1 double crochet in the next 5, 2 in the next, and repeat all the way around, join back to my chain 3. But I did not chain 3 because we're going to cut our yarn. And so now we're going to bring in our new color, which I'm using this bright pink, and chain 1. And we're chaining 1 because we're going to be stitching a row of single crochets. So we'll go right in that first stitch and stitch a single crochet. And we're going to have 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we'll stitch 2 single crochets in the next stitch. 1 and 2. Then we'll stitch 1 single crochet in the next 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And 2 single crochets in the next. 1 and 2. And so our repeat for row 7 is 1 single crochet in the next 6 and 2 in the next, and repeat this all the way around our row. and that's going to give us just a nice little single crochet edge around. I stitched 1 single crochet in the next 6, 2 in the next, and repeated that all the way around. Here's my last 2 single crochets, and I'm going to join to that first single crochet with the slip stitch. And now we're going to make those little tufts on the top of the chick's head. So we're going to chain 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And now we're going to come back down to this single crochet and slip stitch. And we're going to do this 2 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And slip stitch in that same spot. Or I should say same stitch. And then do it one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Whoops. 11, 12, 13, and 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I'll make sure we got the right count there. And we'll go right back in that same single crochet and slip stitch again. And now we're going to cut our yarn. And I'm going to go in that next loop and pull this loop of yarn to the back just to make it look pretty. And so instead of having a loop at the top like we did with the lamb, let me grab it real quick. See, we just had 1 loop on the lamb, and we have 3 loops on the chick, and that's just to make it look like those tufts of feathers that are on the top of a chick's head. Now I need to take a couple minutes and weave these ends in, and then I'm going to show you how to add those cute little feet. Alright, so we've done the little tufts at the top of the chick head, and now we're going to do the feet. So what you're going to do is you're going to count down to the 38th stitch and join your yarn. And I'm going to turn this around like this because we're going to bring it in. Do a little chain 1. And now we're going to chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We're going to slip stitch in that same single crochet and repeat that 2 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And we'll go right in that same single crochet with a slip stitch. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then right in that same single crochet with a slip stitch. So that's 1 of our little chick feet. And now we're going to slip stitch in the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3. And so there's 1 little foot. And now we're just going to repeat what we did here over here. So I repeated what I did here 1 more time. We'll cut our yarn. We'll go in that next loop, pull that to the back, and then we can weave that into the back. And so now our little chick has 2 little feet. All right, so I'm going to get my needle and weave these in. So here's the little tufts, the little tuft feathers, and then now my chick has 2 little chicken feet. And what we're going to do now is make the beak. All right, so I've got my orange yarn. We're going to start with a slip knot, and we're going to chain 2 chains. 1 and 2. All right, now in this chain 2, or the second chain, we're going to stitch 2 single crochets. 1 and 2. We're going to chain 1 and turn. And now we're going to stitch 2 single crochets in those 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to chain 1 and turn and stitch 1 single crochet in those 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we had 2 and then 4 and 4 on the next 2 rows. Now we're going to chain 1 and turn, stitch 2 single crochets in that first single crochet, 1 single crochet in the next 2, 1, 2, and then 2 single crochets in that last single crochet, and chain 1. Now we're going to work down here, and we're going to evenly stitch single crochets down the side of that beak so it has a nice edge. And in the bottom we're going to stitch a single crochet, chain 1, and single crochet. And that's the point of our beak. And then we'll evenly single crochet back up. And make sure you try to stitch in those sides of those stitches and not the holes, okay? Or you end up with holes in your beak and you don't want that. Alright, so now I'm up at the top. I'm going to chain 1 and then single crochet in each of those across. Single crochet, chain 1, and single crochet in that last stitch, and then just join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch. And we're going to cut our yarn, but we want to leave a long tail of yarn so we can sew that beak onto our chick. Alright, so I'm just going to go in that next loop, grab that loop, pull it to the back, and tie that off. And now we have our nice beak. So first thing we're going to do is weave this end in, and then we'll place it on our chick and sew it in place. I weaved my end in on my beak, and then I've got my long end of my tail of yarn on my needle, and you're going to place that beak right in the center of that circle. You can pin that in place if it's easier for you. This goes over here, of course, but I don't. I just kind of hold it in place. I'm going to go down in. There we go. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go around the edge of where those stitches are. And I usually do a little bit bigger stitches first, and it's kind of bastes it in place of where I want it to be, because I want it to be lined up evenly with the feet and this. Now the other chicken, I made the feet a little cockeyed so that they're over a little. I thought it'd make it look kind of cute, and I didn't like it as much, and that's why I evened out the feet on this one. But you can do it however you want, of course. And so this first row of stitches is kind of just like basting it in place. And then you can see if you like it. If you don't like where it is, you can always take those stitches out and redo that. Alright, so I'm looking at it. I want to make sure everything's even. And with those basting stitches, you can kind of move it around a little so that it's where you want it to be. Alright, so I'm back over here where I started. I like where the beak is. I think it looks cute. And so I'm going to go ahead and use the rest of my yarn and just go back over those stitches and make sure they're going to stay put. And we'll do it just the same, going in and out those edge stitches. So I like the placement of my beak, and now I'm going to add the eyes, and I like to put them about right here. And you want to make sure you go in through a stitch and not through a hole, or they're not going to stay. All right. So we're going to make a French knot. We're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to go right in the stitch, go through some fibers, so it's going to stay put. We'll turn it over, and we're going to make a knot on the back, and that's going to keep it from coming out. Okay. Now we're going to come back over. And we'll make the second eye. We'll do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course the eye placement is up to you. I put these nice and close. You can make them farther apart. It's up to you. All right, so we'll come back around here. We're going to make one little stitch there. And then we'll take these two ends and tie them in a gentle knot. And what I mean by that is we want to try to make sure that it's not a tall knot, because we don't want it to interfere with the placemat. Now you can try to hide your stitches and your knots. Sorry about that. You can try to hide your stitches and your knots, but you're going to have some weaving in, and of course here as well, because of just the nature of how it's done. So I have 2 flowers already made. And I'm going to make one more because I like to add 3. And they're really quite simple to make. You start with your slip stitch and you chain 2. Then in the second chain, we're going to stitch 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then we're going to join to that first single crochet and chain 7. There we go. We chained 7. We're going to slip stitch in this next single crochet and chain 7. Then we'll slip stitch in the next single crochet and chain 7. Slip stitch in the next single crochet, and then we'll repeat this 3 more times so we have 6 petals. So I've repeated this 6 more times. I'm going to join my last chain 7 to that first single crochet. And we're going to tie off, but we're going to leave a long tail of yarn so we can use that to sew that onto our spring chick. So we'll go ahead and tie that off. And we're going to grab our needle and we're going to weave in this short tail of yarn which we started with. So we'll just weave that around. So here's my 3 flowers. I've made 3 in 3 different colors. I'm going to put the orange one in the center. Now the flower placement is sort of up to you. You can do them lower, you can do them higher. I like it so that it's down just enough where you can still see that little tuft feathers on our chick. And I've already got my yarn threaded on my needle. And the way you do that is we're going to go underneath and come up in the center of that flower. Okay, and then we'll just make a couple of stitches in the center of the flower. We're not going to sew the petals down. We want the petals to be a little bit maybe floofy. I don't know the term, but we want them to be loose so they can go like that. All right, and so then that one's sewn on. And we'll weave this in, and then I'll sew the other two on as well. All right, so that's the center one, and I'm going to place one over here and the other one over here, and I'm going to sew it on exactly the same way I did that orange one. So my spring chick is all complete, and you can see this is our traditional colors, and this is our fun mint green with bright pinks and bright colors. And so you can make these out of any colors of yarn that you want to, just as long as they're a medium weight number 4. Just like I said, get in your yarn stash and have some fun with our spring chick or Easter chick hot pad, pot holder, and of course, decoration.